Hey, what's up everybody? All right, we'll go ahead and get started in just a moment. We'll do a quick audio visual check. So if everybody could hear me and if we are streaming in 1080p, just go ahead and give us a thumbs up in the chat and we will get started shortly. Thank you all for joining. All right, looks like we're good. All right, well, good evening everybody and welcome back to Walks and Wall Street. Today is January 8th, 2023. It is a Monday. It's about 9:17 p.m. Eastern Time, live from New York City's Billionaires Row. Right on the corner of East 57th Street and Madison Avenue. Now tonight, it's going to be a shorter than normal stream. Apologies, we are on late. I just stepped out of the office. It was a crazy day. But if you remember last week, obviously we didn't have the stream on Saturday and Sunday. Took about 2 days off. I had other obligations, so I apologize for that. But on Friday night, we talked about the possibility to have a little bit of a rally week on Wall Street this week, mainly because during the start of the year, we had 1, 2, 3, 4 trading days in a row of stock market declines. So if you take a look at the S&P 500, just before the new year, so the last trading day, I would say, of the year, we pretty much closed near 52-week highs, 47.91 on the S&P, and then we had about 4 trading days of straight declines. S&P 500 dropped about 114 points, or about 2.5%, and that 50-day moving average comes in right at 45.53. Big rally day on Wall Street, right? If you look at those 2 candles on Thursday and Friday, we had very high intraday volatility with the market pretty much closing dead even on both days. And that's really a sign of at least short-term accumulation and a potential rally throughout the next week. So markets perform really well. S&P up 66 points, or about 1.5%, overtaking the last 1, 2, 3, 4 days of trading action. We pretty much levitated all the way right back up. We'll quickly take a look at the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Ticker symbol DJI, the Dow 30, also had a really good day today on Wall Street, closing all the way up 216 points, or about 0.5%. 37,683 on the Dow. Last but not least, the NDX, the NASDAQ 100, and then we'll look at the composite. NASDAQ really off to the races. Today was very good on Wall Street for high beta stocks, which we'll talk about a potential reason why. It has to do with the bond market. But go ahead and pull up your Bloomberg terminal, your TradingView or MarketSmith, and look at the NASDAQ 100. Now today we rallied 343 points, up over 2% on the NASDAQ 100, overtaking not only 1, 2, 3, 4 of the previous trading day declines on pretty good volume. NASDAQ 100 closed at 16,649. We'll just quickly look at the NASDAQ composite, closing up 2%, 14,000. Last but not least, let's look at the VIX, the CBOE Volatility Index. The VIX got absolutely crushed. And if you remember on Friday night's live stream, we were sort of talking about this. Usually when you have a rally in the VIX, it'll sort of mean revert. You'll have a mean reversion trade to a major moving average, and then the VIX will dump and roll over. Generally speaking, as you have an uptick in the VIX, right, it correlates with more volatility in the market. That's why if there's any options traders out here, if anybody hedges with options, when VIX is high, right, or when vol is high, generally speaking, that may be a good opportunity to short volatility on the street, right? I always go back to the example during the COVID pandemic, right, in 2020. If we go all the way back to 2020, particularly February, let me just quickly scroll to a monthly time frame here, just so you can have a better visual. This is a monthly visual of the CBOE Volatility Index, and you notice you have these big blow-offs in the VIX right here in 2008 for obvious reasons, and then you have another big blow-off here in the VIX during the 2020 COVID crash. And a lot of people were actually buying options here, like buying put protection into the COVID crash, and those options were expensive, right? So generally speaking, right, we know that the market on average goes up about 70% of the time. So whenever you have those big blow-offs in volatility, well, it's usually appropriate to short vol in those situations. Maybe we'll do a little bit deeper dive into exactly what we mean in a behind the street newsletter segment a little bit later. All right, let's get started. But last but not least, we do have a little bit of an update. So last Thursday, I did send out the first issue of the Behind the Street newsletter. We talked about a lot. So go ahead and check your email. I sent it out Thursday night at around 7 o'clock. So after the market closed, I sent that out to everybody. We talked about a ton of important stuff, okay? We did a little bit of an analysis on Wall Street as it relates to S&P 500 performance during election cycles, okay? So during presidential election years, what is the average return for the S&P 500? What is the average return for the S&P 500 when a Republican is elected, when a Democrat is elected, and vice versa, right? So a lot of action-packed stuff in there. Then we talked about the U.S. manufacturing sector, the PMI numbers. We did a deep dive into the potential return of private equity in IPOs. We gave some really good examples there. We talked about 3 stocks in particular, KKR, major powerhouse on Wall Street in terms of private equity. We talked about Blackstone, Stephen Schwarzman Company, another major powerhouse on Wall Street in private equity. And then last but not least, as it relates to getting a good gauge or proxy on the public markets, the IPO market, we talked about Wall Street mega bank Goldman Sachs, okay? Last but not least, we did a little bit of an analysis on India and Japan and why China may lag significantly going into 2024 and beyond. And then lastly, I gave a video tour of one of our listings in Gramercy. It is a full floor apartment, 1,500 square feet, 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, amazing outdoor patio space, go ahead and check it out. So if you want to receive that newsletter, just go ahead and scan the QR code on your screen, punch in your email, and every other Thursday after the market closes, you will receive all of our equity research for free, okay? So I did send that out on Thursday. Go ahead and check it out, and we'll get started here in just a moment. Thank you all for joining. All right, everybody, let's see who we got in the chat. A little bit chilly tonight, but hopefully we're all doing well. Hopefully everybody had a fantastic weekend. We are here right outside of Trump Tower. I'll go ahead and remove the QR code and we'll get started. Hey, I see Western Mass Dave. Michelle Frank is here. Lionel Bear, Kathy R, Diana. Says good evening, Tom and chat. Carol Reevy is here. Chris B says Bitcoin at 56,681. Yeah, big rally today across the board for all high beta stuff, right? Cryptocurrencies, growth stocks had an amazing day, right? Look at a lot of the ARK innovative ETFs. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Chuck, what is going on? Chuck Rumsford, as if you buy that Gramercy apartment, you get a key to Gramercy Park. Unfortunately not, it's a little bit too far north. So this apartment's on the corner of Lexington Avenue and East 23rd Street. So about 2 blocks away from Gramercy Park. So no key, no cigar, unfortunately. Hey, Mark the Shark, what's going on? Roz999, this is greetings from... Yeah, you know, we did get a little bit of snowfall here in New York City, which was, it was actually quite nice, not gonna lie. However, you know, I kind of wish that the entire weekend was a little bit colder, because it was a little bit on and off, right? You know, you had 1 hour it was snowing, 1 hour it was raining, 1 hour it was like a mix. So, you know, wasn't bad. The city actually looked quite nice in the snowfall. I'd much rather have snow than rain. At least it's a little bit more workable here. Roberts says, good evening, Tom. Thanks so much for joining us. Chris B says, Tom, the new listing looks amazing. Chris, I got another new listing that's gonna totally blow your face off. We just listed it today. We just went live today. And Sunday, all of you are invited if you want to come. It's at 199 Conover Street in Red Hook, Brooklyn. So we finally got all of the staging ready for Penthouse 3A. We have a sauna on the roof. We have a cold plunge up there. And on the 14th, so this Sunday, we're going to be throwing an event from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock. It's going to be catered by the Widow Jane. So the sponsor is the distillery. There's going to be a bourbon tasting. There's going to be a lot of cool stuff. I think the Red Hook Lobster Pound is also going to sponsor. So if anybody wants to stop by, please join us this Sunday in Red Hook. Dan is here. What's going on? Welcome, welcome. I see Richard Vogel. Pogo says, Tom, do you think Washington, D.C. is a great place to start a career? Yeah, I mean, I guess it just depends on what you're doing, right? Now, when I've only been to Washington, D.C., I think about twice. And my takeaway is that everything closes so early. Does anybody else get that similar feeling if you've ever been to D.C.? Everything was closed at like 6 o'clock at night. Anyway, now obviously, right, let's say if you're working in government, probably the best place to be is in D.C. Also, for all of those salespeople out there, particularly if you're in SLED sales. So in a hierarchy in a sales organization, hold on, I quickly want to point this out for everybody. Right here on the corner of East 54th Street and 5th, this is the University Club. You guys gotta Google this building. The inside of the University Club is amazing. It resembles the inside of the New York Public Library Stephen Schwarzman building. It's amazing. So just Google the University Club, 5th Avenue and East 54th. It's very, very cool. There's not a lot of people out tonight, so maybe we'll cross the street and I'll try to give you guys some views into the building. But anyway, you know, as I was saying, in a sales organization in a hierarchy, right, you usually have your SMB, which stands for small to medium-sized businesses. Then you have your mid-market sales. Then you have enterprise. So enterprise sales is selling into Fortune 500, Fortune 50 big companies, right? But lastly, you also have something called SLED, which stands for state, local government, education sales, which can be very lucrative, by the way. If you get some like big government contract deals, particularly if you're selling software, I mean, it's not uncommon to make, you know, mid-level 6 figures, and if you have a blowout year, depending on, you know, your seniority in the company, have a 7-figure year. You know, some of those, you know, Amazon, AWS, government, federal government salespeople can make a ton. If you're going into state, local government sales, DC I think is a great place to be for obvious reasons, particularly at the federal level, right? All right, guys, check this out. So here is the University Club. It's a Landmarks of New York building. And look at those crown moldings on the ceiling. Now, does that not resemble the inside of the New York Public Library just a little bit? It's amazing in there. Now, there is no photography, but you are allowed to film from the street, right? Anything visible from the street is legal to film, but I mean, it's just amazing inside. It's an incredible, incredible building. I'm not too sure how much the membership is, though. Hey, Western Mass Dave's is very similar. What's up? Goats is who makes more sales or sales engineer? It depends. If you're a top salesperson, you make way more than the SEs or solutions engineers or the sales engineers. But if you want more stability generally, solutions engineering, sales engineering is a great career to go into. But if you want to maximize your earnings potential, be a little bit more customer facing, client facing, then I would say going into an account executive position and trying to work your way up to enterprise is definitely the way to go. But it really just depends. So adjacent from the University Club, I quickly just want to point this out. I believe we've already pointed this out before. So right on the other corner of 5th Avenue and East 54th, this is the brand new Mandarin Oriental Residences. Okay, so this building that looks absolutely fantastic with the pretty much brand new facade, right? I mean, they just took the scaffolding down. Not to be confused with the Mandarin Oriental Hotel, you could actually purchase residences. So if you like the amenities, all the perks of staying at a Mandarin Oriental Hotel, there's actually one directly in the Deutsche Bank Towers, 59th Street, Columbus Circle. Maybe you can consider buying a condo right here on 5th Avenue. Hey, Kenny Miller's has lots of wood paneling in the club. I love that. That's I would say one of my goals in life is to be able to have an in-house library that has all of that classic wood paneling with those, think those like 1970s, 1980s Wall Street desks in those old movies. That's what I want. Kind of like, you could also think inside a Morgan Library. If anybody's, you know, been able to go tour the Morgan Library, that place is amazing as well. All right, this is St. Thomas Church. Since there's not a lot of tourists out tonight, we can get a little bit of a closer look at the facade. Great architecture here. Look at that. and we're right across the street from the Microsoft store. Hey, Hawaii's here. Good to see you. D is here. What's up? Mr. Cheems says, hey, Tom. Good evening from Ontario. What's up? Good to see all of our Canadian viewers. Caitlin is here. What's up? Pogo says $150,000 a year, enough to live comfortably in New York. Oh, yeah. For sure. Absolutely. More than enough to live comfortably in New York City. NAV 407. It's good to see you. Thanks so much. Sammy Wu says, what do you forecast for the economy to be in the first quarter of 2024? I think it's going to exceed expectations, and I think you're going to have a more surprising earnings recovery than what the street is expecting. At least that's what the market is telling us so far, right? I wrote a piece on Thursday night. If you want to check your email, it was the first article I've written in 2024. And one of the things we talked about is how sometimes stocks or equities in and of themselves could be the best leading economic indicators for a few reasons, right? Reason number one is because, generally speaking, equities tend to price in earnings 6 months in advance, so they're forward looking. And if you look at the major equity indices, and specifically participation from small caps, so if you look at the Russell 2000, which generally tend to be, less quality companies, there's a lot of zombie companies there. The expansion in breadth, right, the overall breadth of the market has actually improved quite substantially. So if you want to see some of the metrics that I look at, if you scan the QR code on the screen, it'll take you to the latest article I wrote on Thursday night. We looked at a lot of breadth indicators, particularly the 10-day moving average of new highs to new lows, and also 10-day moving average of up to down volume. So check it out. I mean, what do you guys think? Do you think that 2024 is going to exceed expectations in terms of GDP growth, economic output? Now, keep in mind, right, if just talking about stock prices, if you want to look at the major indice, the S&P 500, during an election year, the market generally tends to go up about 11%. And 80% of the time, so 80% of the time during presidential election years, the market is positive. So, I mean, imagine after the banner year on Wall Street we had, this is the Cartier building, by the way. This is sort of what it looks like without all the holiday lights on it. Do you guys notice how Fifth Avenue is totally dead in comparison to what we usually stream? It's almost like there's not a soul walking down Fifth. When during the holidays, this place was rocking, right? But I mean, so put it this way, if we get the average, right, 11% return on the S&P 500 this year after the 24% return we had in 2023, I think I'd take that. I'd take that. I mean, particularly, headed into the tail end of the year in November, I think the things are going to get pretty dicey with the media. But yeah, if you want to sign up to receive our free investing newsletter, just go ahead and scan the QR code on your screen and punch in your email. And every other Thursday, we send out that research piece for everybody. DC322 says, Tom, it's a very quiet night on Fifth Avenue. It's kind of nice for a change, right? Gone are the days, my friends, of kind of weaving and bobbing out of crowds of tourists. The holidays are over. It's the new year. We're kind of settling in. So I think it's nice for a change, to be honest. Natasha P says, do you still want to be a developer in the city? Yes, I do. Hopefully we'll have some interesting stuff to announce, hopefully this year. Peter says, have a walk to see the vessel near the shops at Hudson Yards, all lit up. It is quite amazing at night. I agree. It is amazing. The Hudson Yards, particularly during the holidays. Who knows, maybe we'll make our way over there tonight if we have enough time. Now this building right in front of us is the old Versace headquarters, or I should say their flagship store. The rent was way too high for them to be able to afford it, so they vacated the premises. They've moved to Madison Avenue, and now there is a temporary art gallery, Eden Gallery, which is also in South Beach. There's a couple locations in Soho. It's pretty cool. I like the facade. Classic white facade is always good. And on the corner is St. Patrick's Cathedral. Hey, Scott is here. Says there is no indicator or composite of indicators that forecast the near-term direction of the market or economy. If there was, the hedges would identify and arbitrage it into insignificance. Yeah, so I guess that's called, in the hedge fund business, that's called crowdedness, right? If everybody is looking at the same strategy or is running the same strategy, the likelihood to generate alpha was sort of the term they used on the street, declines significantly. So you're correct. In the hedge fund business, the term is called crowdedness. So if everybody's running the same strategy, if everybody's looking the same way, the likelihood to generate returns goes down significantly. Yeah, interesting point. All right, we are now on the corner by St. Patrick's Cathedral. Pup says, Tom, I thought you were in Miami tonight. Guess not yet. Yeah, not yet. So I'm flying out on Sunday night. I don't know, I may have to move my flight around, but expect the live streams to be in Miami, Florida all of next week. I should be coming back Sunday. So next Sunday. So Sunday to Sunday is when we'll sort of be away. Yeah, to be determined. Hey, Abdullah is here. What's going on? Welcome, Abdullah. I see Wendy England. We'll just get one more shot of St. Patrick's as we walk down 5th. Gary Carpenter, it's always good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Chris B says, what time of year is the best to visit New York with the least amount of tourists? So if you're only looking for the least amount of tourists, I would say right now, like quite literally right now. A week or two after New Year's, the city really empties out. But towards the spring, right, as we head out of March into April and May, that's when things kind of pick up again, right? Cherry blossoms are out, the weather's a little bit nicer. It's gonna get brutal, right? You know, January, February tends to get very brutal in terms of the temperatures. So this was the Saks Fifth Avenue light display. It is now officially off, which is a little bit of a bummer, right? I think this year's Saks Fifth Avenue light display was by far the best, in my opinion. Without a doubt, by far the best. Way better than last year's, in my view. Hey, Bree Grahams, what's up? Good to see you, welcome. I just want to quickly take a detour here and see if the Christmas tree is still on. I think they take down the Rockefeller Center Christmas tree on the 14th. I think. Yeah, I kind of see the reflection. It looks like it's still up. It's crazy. Out of curiosity, let's see how many people are ice skating here. But if you guys are enjoying the live stream so far tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video and click the subscribe button if you're new. We do these live streams every single day starting at 8:30. RB says, when next in Miami, visit the Biltmore Hotel in Coral Gables. It was built in 1926. You will love it. Let me take a screenshot of that, RB. I appreciate your email tonight, by the way. Maybe I'll have to do that because Monday and Tuesday, I'm just going to take those 2 days off to kind of relax. Maybe I'll hop on the Vespa and head over to Coral Gables, assuming my Vespa is still at the airport. I've left it there for a little over a month. Hopefully it's not towed. So pending the tow of my Vespa, we will be full steam ahead over to Coral Gables, Florida. There's still people ice skating. It's pretty cool. It was horrible weather, right? It was raining, it was snowing, it was windy, it was just nasty. But first thing on Monday morning, today, the weather was perfect. It was sunny out pretty much all day, no wind. Today was great. Hey, Peter says the biotech stocks are moving today. I think they will be a winner this year. I did very well so far and expect some buyouts this year. Peter, that's a very good point. It's a very good point. I think the M&A market and just the deal flow on Wall Street in general, I think is going to improve significantly this year. I think the private equity markets are going to open up. I think the IPO markets are going to open up, and that generally means the M&A market will open up, right? Mergers and acquisitions. Mainly because if you look at, well, if you rewatch the latest FOMC meeting speech at the conclusion of the FOMC meeting, right? Fed Chair Jerome Powell's speech. He kind of gave the signal that the hiking cycle is over. And additionally, if you look at the latest ISM PMI market, right, or ISM PMI report that came out, the Institute for Supply Management PMI report, one of the things you'll see if you scroll down and take a look at what some of the respondents are saying in the manufacturing sector, a lot of them have said that they're forecasting capital expenses to go up, or budget increases to be approved this year, because corporations are confident that this is the end of the hiking cycle, right? So once corporations have the stability and the confidence that the Fed is done raising interest rates, they can kind of have a better idea of, okay, now I feel that it's comfortable that, you know, rates will probably either stay the same or go down, so I'm comfortable taking on more debt to expand the business, to hire more employees, right? You know, the reason why you kind of saw that major decline in the market at the tail end of 2021 to the bear market in 2022 is because when rates went up, right, businesses were very hesitant to spend, to take on debt to grow their businesses. And thus you have, well, technically not a recession, but you have an earnings recession. So yeah, I agree. I think that the IPO markets will open up this year. I think there'll be more deals to be had and more M&A business. We'll see. Pedro is here, says hello from Brazil. What's up, Pedro? Oscar Diaz says, good evening, Tom. Any thoughts on the South American market and future growth? Yeah, I have a few thoughts. I briefly gave a couple thoughts in this week's newsletter. So if you check your email, or if you type !news, NEWS in the chat, The Nightbot will drop the link to our Substack. One of the things that we talked about, or I should say one of the things that we wrote about, is how not only is India, Japan, and Korea, in my view, is poised to benefit going into 2024 and beyond, but I think Latin American countries and North America, right, in terms of US, Canada, and Mexico, I think they're also set to benefit from this shift away from manufacturing capacity in China, right? If you look at, and I put these two screenshots in the newsletter if you want to look at it. Go ahead, if you have, Google up, just Google the Chinese major indice, right? The Hang Seng Index. Then go ahead and Google the Indian index, the Nifty 50. And you'll see a very, very stark contrast, right? Indian equities, or the Nifty 50, pretty much didn't even have a correction when the US was going into a correction, when China was in a severe bear market, and when even Japan pulled back a little bit. India was sort of just up and to the right. And I think that's a very telling story. I think that tells the story that in Asia, the dominant power is going to be India going forward, Japan and Korea, and this, potential that, China is going to be the new world superpower is probably a little bit overblown, I think. I don't know, that's one of the conversations we were having. Hey, Wendy England, what's up? Jennifer says, is this where they filmed the Today Show? Yes, it is. They filmed it just right back there. I haven't watched the Today Show in God knows how long. I don't even know who's on it anymore. Is Al Roker still on it? Is he still around? I hope he's still around. Hey, Lori says people have less money to spend. That affects everything. What do you see above ground seems normal? Oh, what you see above ground seems normal. Underground stores and malls are closed. Maybe. Or do you think that could just be a shift in how consumers are spending, right? Now, if you look at commercial real estate, retail and office has been taking a really big hit. Not necessarily because consumers are not spending. I think it's just the way in which consumers are spending is changing, right? I mean, how often do you kind of go into a storefront and physically purchase goods and services from a store, as opposed to, ordering things online? So, I think the how should I say? I think you see this retail apocalypse, like of stores closing, is not because the economy is so bad. It's just because we've changed the way in which we spend, or how we spend, perhaps. So I think going forward, you're going to need less and less and less retail storefront, and maybe just more like showrooms and things like that. I don't know. But it is a good point. It is a good point. Maybe consumers are getting a little bit fatigued in terms of their spending. But I think it's also important to note that if you look at the money market, or money that is in money markets right now, and if you want a visual representation of this, you can go to the St. Louis Federal Reserve website and look at the Fred data. And go ahead and look at balances in money market funds. It's at an all-time record high. There's about $6.2 trillion on the sidelines now, right? Meaning it's cash that's not invested in equities. It's not invested in real estate. It's pretty much just money that's sitting idle inside people's brokerage accounts that's in money markets. Now, a money market is a very liquid fund that's invested in usually short-term bonds, that have a competitive yield. This is the Diamond District. It's a pretty cool shot of the FDNY fire truck. But if you think about it, it kind of makes sense, because we are coming off one of the most aggressive tightening cycles in the last decade. So we've made this shift from quantitative easing and artificially suppressed interest rates to very, very severe quantitative tightening. Let's go check out 270 Park Avenue. Look at that. So as interest rates have been going up, and people are like, wait, I can, park my money in a money market account that's going to yield 5%, no volatility risk, a 5% risk-free rate of return. People are going to do that. So the question is, should we have a sizable correction in the stock market? Which it's not if, it's when, right? The markets go through normal corrections. Usually the market has at least 8% pullback a year. A lot of people are like, well, who's going to be there to buy that and invest money in their businesses and reinvest money in the market? Well, I mean, there's a record number of liquidity on the sideline. So this could be just the start of the move. Who knows? You never know. Hey, Marilyn is here from Murray Hill. What's up, Marilyn? Hopefully your new year's off to a fantastic start. We're checking out the brand new 270 Park Avenue building from the corner of East 47th and Madison. Now, this building topped out about 2 months ago, but look at this. You could see the big crane, the big boom sticking off the side. You guys see that? And they are working on finishing the facade. Pretty cool building. Hey, Druzzies, this is for things like KKR, Blackstone, and SOX, which are all at all 5-year high. Do you recommend waiting for a correction or buying now? I can't recommend you to do anything, to be honest. I'm not licensed, and I can't legally provide financial advice. The newsletter is just, I essentially give everybody access to all of my research. So all of the equity research that I do each and every day, that I type up anyway, I send out to everybody. But I can't tell, it shouldn't be taken as these ideas is Tom saying go out and buy this, right? I think more so the point of writing the letter, right, is to show you a fundamental process and kind of give you an idea of how I generate these ideas and why, right? So, and to kind of give you a gauge on the market. So with the piece we wrote, and it's a good question, but the piece we wrote was about why we came to the conclusion that the private equity market, the IPO market, and the M&A market may start to open back up, right? So if we work backwards, sort of what we wrote about in the newsletter is that once we started to shift, or the Federal Reserve started to shift monetary policy from a very accommodative policy to a very tight monetary policy, 6 months before the stock market went into a correction, you started to have a lot of the financials, right, particularly in the investment banking sector, like pure play investment banks like Goldman Sachs started to roll over, Morgan Stanley started to roll over, and private equity players like KKR, right, one of the biggest players in private equity, as well as Blackstone, they started to roll over as well. Because if deals are not getting done on Wall Street, well, that means there's no fee income, right? And if you're Goldman Sachs and you're working with a company to help take them public, you're making a lot of money in fees. What's going on over here? Hold that thought. there's always either ambulance activity or police activity here. The Roosevelt Hotel is one of the largest migrant centers in New York City. But anyway, yeah, so if you think about, if you do an audit, right, so I would advise look back at the share price of Goldman Sachs in 2021. Their earnings hit an all-time record high, and so did their stock price, 52-week highs. Now, there's a reason for that. There was about 1,083 new IPOs in 2021, an all-time record high, right? And that was because there was so much pandemic stimulus, both on the monetary side and the fiscal side, that deal flow was just crazy. And a lot of those deals were crappy deals, but Goldman Sachs will do those deals all day because they don't care about the quality, right? They just care about getting the management fees and the equity underwriting fees, all that. But look what happened to Goldman Sachs share price in 2022, right? Nearly cut in half. I think it went down like 35%, and that's because there was only 181 IPOs in the year. So an 83% decline in one of their largest businesses, right? Taking companies public. Now, the good news is, our thesis is that since stocks tend to look out and look forward 6 months into the future, if you look at the share price of KKR, Blackstone, and Goldman Sachs now, they've really rallied and recovered much of their losses, which tells us that deal flow is potentially going to pick up substantially on the street. And I think it was, I forget who was the chatter that sent us this, but there was a really, really good Bloomberg interview with the head of investment banking at Goldman Sachs. I forget who sent it. I forget. I think it may have been Raj. I forget. Raj Rupani, I believe. And if you want to just look at that interview, it has very, very little views because it was on Bloomberg's TV network. But they interviewed the head of investment banking at Goldman Sachs, and he was saying the exact same thing. He's like, look, 2022 was a very rough year for us, right? Deal flow, M&A activity, IPO activity, very low. But you're starting to see the markets open back up again, deals starting to be done. And according to him, right, the head of investment banking for North America, he says that the clients and customers he's talking to are expecting the Fed to be at the conclusion of their hiking cycle. So as you're thinking about putting together an investment thesis, it's important to kind of take it systematic in nature. Because what's important in the investment business is to recreate a systematic framework for investing. So you could use that framework to be self-sufficient if you're managing your own money. So you don't have to like take tips and, you know, buy recommendations. You could just take that process and replicate it systematically to be self-sufficient. All right, this is on the corner of East 42nd Street and Madison Avenue, right outside of 1 Vanderbilt. Let's actually cross the street here by the PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers. This is always one of my favorite shots of the city. Look at that. You're looking all the way down at Grand Central Station, Pershing Square. You can see the very top of the Chrysler Building. And last but not least, look at that. This is 1 Vanderbilt. Pretty cool. Hey, Dan Sang, what's up? Happy New Year, Dan. Hey, Tom, how was your day? It was busy. Very, very busy. I started the stream late. I was in the office late. How was your day? Hopefully everything is going well with you. Hey, I see our good friend Evan Weeks. Evan, Happy New Year to you and your family. Welcome to New York City. With much improved weather, I should say. Much improved weather. Let's head all the way over to the east side. We haven't been all the way over to the east side in a long time. Maybe we'll check out the United Nations. I haven't been there in 20 years. A Simple Life. What's up? Dan, welcome. Hey, hang with Mark Baum. Thanks for joining. Yeah, Line Sync says the Chrysler is looking good as always. I think it'd be a good idea if the Chrysler building opened up the spire to the public. So kind of like what they do with the Empire State Building. Maybe have an observation deck in the spire of the Chrysler building. I think that would do really well. I think they would do really well for that. I don't know if they're allowed to, but I think that'd be a good idea. Hey Stein, good to see you. Thanks so much. Drozzy says that was very insightful regarding IPOs. Thank you. So I'll give you another really good resource on where to go to track activity. So historical activity for IPOs going all the way back to the 70s. Now the website is called slickcharts.com. So SLICK charts.com. And it'll show you not only the breakdown of the major equity indices, so the components of every major indice in the United States, but if you look around, there's a web page that will bring you to a historical archive of every single IPO ever, and the date it went public, and the totals for the year. Right, so there's a lot of cool data that you can play around with, and you could export this to Excel. So if you're building a model, right, maybe you can make some correlations between monetary policy hiking cycles and the number of IPOs, and just play around with the data. Try to find interesting correlations, and a lot of this stuff is free. All this stuff is free online. Like an Air Bud dog, right? Who remembers that movie Air Bud? Hey Elena, what's up? Says hello there, awesome streaming. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for being here. We're just passing the Hyatt at Grand Central, which I think they're going to be taking down soon. I think they're going to tear down the entire building. I know, ETC says Air Bud is a childhood classic. It is a childhood classic. All right, let's take a look at it. So the Hyatt Grand Central, you can see the bar up here. Now, is that correct? Maybe for anybody in the chat who has a little bit more info on this than me. So this is Pershing Square, the bridge to Grand Central Station, and right next to Grand Central is the very famous Grand Hyatt. Now apparently this is set for demolition, and they're going to put up something else, I think. I don't know, somebody said that in the chat before. Someone says, what time do you usually go to sleep? I'd say around midnight, 1 a.m. Usually around there. Jojo50 says, where do you get the IPO data? If you scan the QR code on your screen and you punch in your email, in the article that I wrote on Thursday, So if you haven't gotten it, everybody just check your email. If you scroll down about a third of the way down the page, I wrote a segment called The Return of Private Equity and IPOs. And I included a lot of those sources that I use. Again, one of the websites that's very good is called slickcharts.com. SLICK charts.com. There's tons of historical market data there. Check it out. If you can't scan the QR code, just type !news, NEWS in the chat, and the Nightbot will drop the link to our Substack. Again, we publish that research piece every other Thursday when the market closes. So go ahead and check it out. But we're gonna go all the way to the end. We're gonna go all the way to the water, the East River. And maybe if we have enough time, we'll check out the United Nations, because we almost never go over there. And we've been going well into Midtown almost every night. So maybe this will be a little bit of a change of scenery, and it's not too windy for a change. So I don't know. Let's cross 3rd Avenue. We'll check it out on the east side. Look at this. 135 East 42nd Street. This is the very, very front of the Chrysler. Kind of cool. And you see one Vanderbilt in the distance over there. Lori says, do you have a good view from where you live? If so, what is great about it? I don't have any view where I live currently. There's no view. My office has a decent view, but my apartment in Manhattan has no view. Unfortunately. I used to have a really nice view of Central Park, but this was during the pandemic when there was a very mini flash crash in real estate. Everybody was scared. They left Manhattan. They said Manhattan was never going to come back. Everybody said it was going to turn into a third world country, and it didn't, obviously. And there were a lot of deals to be had. I had a really nice apartment right on Central Park South. I had a view of Central Park. It was great. But now I don't have any view, unfortunately. Hey, Sabrina Fair, what's up? Good to see you. Yeah, that's true. Hawaii's like, it's okay, you're always out and about, plus you got Miami. Yeah, I mean, you'll find, if you live in New York, I think a lot of New Yorkers can attest to this. Very seldom do you really spend much time in your apartment, right? If you live here, you're always constantly out. I'm really only in my apartment when I go to sleep, to be honest. Yeah, it's more fun. I mean, if you're living in Manhattan, there's so many things to do. There's so many distractions. There's, I mean, my God, I mean, there's so much stuff to do here. So it's kind of like you don't really want to be in your apartment. Hey, Chris B. Says, I saw a great listing and the beginning of the chat for 2.6. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, if you want to see that, which I'm gonna film a video shortly. We just went live with it. It's a really stunning property. The address is 199 Conover Street in Red Hook, Brooklyn. So today, we just went live with Penthouse 3A. It's an incredible property. We listed it at 2.6. So it's on the market for $2.6 million. But you guys got to check out the views from the roof. You have your own private rooftop. You overlook the Statue of Liberty. You overlook all of Lower Manhattan. On a clear day, you could see all the way to Billionaires Row, Manhattan, the Brooklyn Bridge, Manhattan Bridge. It's just an amazing, amazing property. And this Sunday, if you want to come out, and join us. Please feel free. We are throwing a little bit of an event, throwing a party this Sunday from 3 to 5 at the Conover in the Penthouse. We're gonna have catering by the Widow Jane, which is a big distillery for anybody who likes bourbon and whiskeys and things like that. It's gonna be a fun time. So if you wanna come one, come all. Hey Bradley, this is Hey Tom, where do you compile all of your equity research notes? In Note 1, mainly in Microsoft Excel. I use Excel, and there's like a note feature in MarketSmith. So MarketSmith is kind of like a dumbed down version of Bloomberg. And I keep a lot of my notes there because you can annotate charts, earnings pies. But yeah, I mean, I really mainly work in Excel, MarketSmith, things like that. Also Substack, right? I publish a lot on Substack, so there's probably about 20 pages of stuff that I write out every week, and about 5 of those pages actually make it into the newsletter. A lot of the other stuff is like not the top tier ideas, right? Maybe it's like a 4 out of 10 on the idea scale, things like that. But I'll check out Note 1. Let me take a screenshot of that. Note 1, I haven't heard of it. Hey, Carl's here. What's up, Carl? Optimus 17 says sounds amazing and definitely plan on coming, please. So Sunday the 14th, 2 hours from 3 to 5. It'll be cool. I think it'll be fun to kind of show off the apartment. It's very unique. Red Hook is a bit far away. I will warn you there, but Jennifer Y, what's up? Cape Cod Sarah says I despise OneNote. Why is that? I have to look up what that is. Luciana says, what do you think about the housing crisis in New York? I think it's preventable, but there's a lot of bureaucracy and incompetence in the government. But it's also easier said than done. And it's not just New York. I don't want to feel like I'm singling out New York City. But look, at the end of the day, it's kind of basic supply and demand, right? You need to have supply on the market for prices to come down, because you need to satiate the buyer's demand. So one of the things that I could give a thumbs up to for cities like Austin, Texas, Miami, Florida, and the like, they build a lot, comparatively speaking, to New York. So over time, right, if you look at the new development pipeline in New York City, and then if you compare that new development pipeline to places like Miami, Florida, let's try to go up the stairs here. This will be cool. And if you compare that pipeline to places like Austin, Orlando, Florida, Miami, some people could even say that, places like Austin, Orlando are even overbuilding, right? Which is going to cause prices to come down. But look, I mean, God forbid people can afford a place to live, right? That's kind of how I think about it. So if we just take it all the way back to the basics, we don't need to get super quantitative. If, generally speaking, if you want prices to come down, you need more supply. And the problem with New York City is there's virtually no supply, right? So you need to build. But there's a lot of bureaucracy. There's a lot of regulation. You can't just build things here. All right, guys, look at this. It's a pretty cool view, right? So you're essentially looking all the way down into Times Square. So we're standing all the way on the east side of Manhattan on 42nd Street, looking pretty much directly down into the belly of the beast. You have Chrysler Building, you have One Vanderbilt, Bank of America Tower. Let's try to zoom in here. Look at that. You can kind of see the curvature of the island. It's cool, right? Yeah, Royce's Tudor City. Young Nation, what's up? Nana223, thanks for joining us. Check the logic. Says, is it true that there are homes sitting empty owned by investment companies? Generally, yeah, right? Now, if you're referring to, maybe if you're referring to New York, what I assume you mean, are there currently vacant apartments in New York right now that have no tenants that are just sitting empty? And the answer is yeah, a ton. Now, the problem is there's a lot of rent control and rent stabilized apartments. So if you're a landlord, oh, this is a good view of the East River. Look at this. Wow, this is really peaceful. Wow. So this is looking east over to Queens. So you'll have Long Island City. So if you look at where we are on Google Maps, we're pretty much all the way on the east side of Manhattan, right? We're standing just over First Avenue, and you are looking towards Queens and Long Island. So you have Queens, Brooklyn, Nassau, Suffolk County way out there. But let's go down to the ground level. We'll take a walk on First Avenue and we'll look at the United Nations. It's pretty cool here. I mean, we haven't, streamed over here in a long time. I know, Laytha's like, Tom's having a moment on the river. Indeed, good to see you, Laytha. Sharon says, hey Tom, where are we? Corner of First Avenue and East 42nd Street. Now, this is a good spot to see the Manhattan Henge. Anybody familiar with that, the Manhattan Henge? This is like a crazy good spot to see it. Photographers lined up here too. But anyway, what we were saying about the vacant apartments, there's a lot of rent controls, rent stabilized apartments in New York City. Now that's great for people who are living in those rent stabilization apartments, right? Some people are paying like $500, $1,100 for like a 2-bedroom apartment, which is just insane. Now the problem is this, right? The problem is a lot of landlords in Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens, Bronx, in New York City in general, have a lot of vacancy, but you may say, well, then why don't they just list those apartments on the market and people will rent them? Well, they're not ready for rent. They need repairs, they need maintenance, and they're not rent ready yet. Now, the second question is, well, why don't they just pay money to fix them up and have them become rent ready? Well, the money that the landlords would need to spend to fix those apartments, they would not make their money back on the rent because the rent would be capped because these are rent stabilized apartments. So a crazy thing that's going on in the city right now is there's thousands and thousands of empty apartments that landlords refuse to fix and put on the market because they can't turn a profit on it, right? Because they would not be able to then bring those rents to market level. So they would essentially be losing money. So the landlords would rather have them sit completely empty and completely vacant. Anybody familiar with the YouTube channel Cash Jordan? I think he does a really good job of explaining local news in the city, probably better than anybody else, in a very entertaining and very good storytelling fashion. He covers this a lot, and he's actually done videos where he interviews landlords that have vacant units as to why they're not investing the money to put back on the market. So if you want kind of a very easy to understand explanation, go check out some of those. All right, let's cross the street here and check out the UN. Very quiet over here. But if you guys are enjoying the live stream so far, feel free to leave a like on the video. And click the subscribe button if you're new. We do these live streams every night starting at 8:30 p.m. All right, we don't have the light, but we're gonna go anyway. It's dead, so let's cross over. Usually the internet is a little bit spotty here, but let's check out the UN. Look at this. Pretty cool, right? You can see all of the barricades here, the security. We're gonna go all the way down to the Trump Tower. Yeah, Jafet Perez's Bitcoin hit $47,000 today. If you look at my Twitter, or X, if anybody has a Twitter, excuse me, go ahead and type in @WalksWallStreet on Twitter. And I tweeted something back in October. This was when Bitcoin was probably trading around 35,000 bucks. And I said the interest, if you go to Google Trends, I said the interest in Bitcoin is at all-time record lows. This was back in October. All the while, the market was improving significantly in terms of Bitcoin. And one of the ways we can analyze this is looking at on-chain transactions. And also, you can analyze on-chain what percentage of Bitcoin has or has not moved in the last 5 years. So one of the things I noticed is that over the last 2 years, when we were in that very severe bear market, the amount, I would call it smart money, right, that was accumulating Bitcoin and holding it for longer than 5 years, right, meaning it's probably parked in cold storage somewhere, was going up on like almost like a near 90-degree angle, while price was going the opposite way. It sort of leads me to believe the smart money is accumulating. And when you see that, when the public interest is at an all-time low, but smart money is accumulating, that is a very good asymmetric risk profile. And now, as Jafet Perez said, I think we made another 52-week high in Bitcoin today, 47,000. 2024 is a halving cycle, by the way. So yeah, good action all around. Good action all around. All right, here is the other entrance to the UN. Everything's pretty much gated and blocked away. It's very quiet over here. Pretty much no foot traffic whatsoever. You can see the UN logo here. And then just over here is Trump Tower, which is the residence, not the hotel. How is the internet over here, by the way? Internet good, bad? Hey, Techno Pink says, hey Tom from EY, from the Dominican Republic. What's up, Techno Pink? Happy New Year to you. Our management consultant of the group is here from EY. Thanks for joining. Look at this mobile command center they have here. Hey, TD, what's up? Good to see you. Here's a view of the spire from the Chrysler Building. And this is the Trump World Tower. 845 First, I believe. Now, I was just in this building. I had to look at a unit. I had to preview a unit for a client. I would say it's very nice. However, it's very far over. Let me actually get away from the lights so you guys could see the building a little bit better. I think it's a great building, but for me, I think it's just too far away from transportation. The Trump World Tower here. But very good views. Very, very good views. Let's cross the street and get a closer look. Continue down here. Hey, Cosmo, what's up? Cosmo Scary, thanks so much for being a good moderator in 2023. We appreciate it. Phillips says, love watching the walks. Thank you. Appreciate it, Philip. So that is the spire of One Vanderbilt and the MetLife building. Pretty cool. You know, this is a very, very similar facade to One Central Park West. So if you want to do a little bit of comparative analysis, go ahead and Google the Trump World Tower on the east side of Manhattan, and then Google a picture of One Central Park West, which is the Trump International Hotel and Tower. Very similar facade, almost the exact same facade, with that sort of gold awning, that overhang. This is the on-ramp to the FDR. Super quiet here. This is Beekman Tower. And if we continue up, this will run us right into Sutton Place. You know what? Let's make it right. I'm actually curious. These are a lot of townhouses here. Wow, Mr. King of Florida, this is Tom. They're having a bad storm in Florida. So somebody sent me, what was it? Somebody sent me a video of this crazy tornado ripping through Fort Lauderdale. It was crazy. Hope everybody is all right. Look at this. Beautiful buildings here. Love the facades. Lathus, my friend, is selling his loft on East 46th Street. Very cool. Oh, you can see just a little piece of 432 Park right here. Latha, if your friend needs any help, send them my contact info. I'd be more than happy to help him sell his loft for top dollar if he's not already working with somebody. Maybe we'll have a feature. Latha's friend's loft will be featured on Walks in Wall Street. You never know. Look at this. They have this random Christmas tree still laid up here. I think it looks pretty good. Not bad. See the Pepsi sign. Pretty cool view. Latha says it's only $900,000. Do you take listings that low? Yeah, absolutely, for sure. If it's a deal, we'll do it. We'll market it. We'll push it out. Absolutely. Yeah, if they need help, let me know. Whoa, this looks like a listing that I want to preview. Look at this. I can only imagine how incredible this building must be. Let's cross the street and look at it from the other side. It's right on Beekman Place. Wow, look at that. Check this out, guys. Look at the facade here. It looks like they built an extension. I'm not too sure how well that comes out on camera, but looks like there's big outdoor space there, probably overlooking the East River. Wow, that's cool. See it a bit better from here. Maybe I'll reach out to the seller's agent there and take a little bit of a preview. Wow, look at this one. You guys see that chandelier all the way in there? That's incredible. Very cool. Let's see what this is. Ah, okay. Permanent Mission of Tunisia, the United Nations. It's so cool. Yeah, somebody's saying there's a lot of still AC units, window AC units. Yeah, I mean, these are very old buildings, but I kind of like the charm of these buildings. It's very quiet over here too. A lot of these are probably co-ops. Isn't it peaceful over here though? I mean, man, this is really nice. Let's go all the way to the end. You can see the very top of the Altice building in Queens. Hey, from Tijuana, Mexico. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. You guys want to walk over this bridge? Yeah, let's walk over that bridge. Oh, we can't. It's closed. You know, I think they have this temporarily closed because aren't they building that Riverwalk here? I keep forgetting what the name of it is, but it's a brand new, it's similar to the High Line on the west side of Manhattan. But look at how cool this is. Huh. All right, I gotta plug the phone in. Hold on one second. All right, now we're good. But yeah, this neighborhood is beautiful, isn't it? Very, very seldom do we come here on the live stream. But one of the things I want to do very soon is check out that elevated East River. I don't think it's called the East River Park. I always forget what it's called. But it's very cool. Yeah, look at the facades of these buildings. Very quiet over here, very nice. Beekman Place. Almost all of these are probably co-ops, so cooperatives. So the restrictions tend to be a little bit more tight on what you could do with the property, if you could lease it out or rent it. If you purchase a co-op, you're purchasing shares in the corporation, as opposed to a condo, you own it outright. It's a little bit different, co-op versus condo. This is First Avenue. Hey, Michelle K, what's up? TD, welcome. Now, if you guys want to see a pretty cool video of one of the listings that we have, it's a very unique setup. It's a full floor unit on East 23rd Street and Lexington Avenue. So it's about 1,500 square feet. It has 580 square feet of outdoor space, patio. And you have your own private elevator that opens up into this open concept living room and kitchen. It's very cool. If you want to check out that video, we recorded it. If you scan the QR code on your screen and punch in your email, if you scroll all the way to the bottom of the newsletter, we published it on Thursday. So every other Thursday after the market closes, we publish our free investing newsletter. But at the bottom of the newsletter is we always include a property tour of one of our listings. So this week we featured a full floor apartment on East 23rd Street. Very cool floor to ceiling glass windows. Private elevator drops you off into your foyer. Really, really cool layout. Some people like it, some people don't. But I've noticed a lot of developers now have been sort of using that model, where you have an elevator that doesn't open up into a floor with many doors leading into so many apartments. They design it where the elevator landing takes you right into the living room. Which, look, is that something that's in style and it's gonna go out of style? I don't know. Some people aren't too comfortable with it, but the elevators are programmed for one ride, right? So it's not like you're gonna ride the elevator and walk directly into somebody's apartment. Your key fob is programmed to only open up to yours. So check it out, watch the video, let me know what you think. If you scan the QR code, punch in your email, it's at the bottom of the newsletter. Hey, Dusty Cole. This is Tom. Great article on Sunday. Oh, wow. About New York City housing. Let me take a look at that. Please, you could post the link if you want in the chat. I'd love to read it. Buttercup, very cool. Since you saw the video and you liked it. Yeah, we actually have a couple offers on that. Hopefully we'll get that under contract and sold soon. Over the summer, we had an accepted offer on it, but the deal fell through. Unfortunately, it happens. Look at this, one of the original diners. You don't really see these diners here anymore. Some of my favorite things about New York City, and Long Island in particular, the original diners. You could sit down and eat. Usually they're open 24/7, but nowadays they're closing down just because the cost of rent is so high. So if we make a left here, this will run us into the Lipstick building, where's the building that Bernie Madoff ran his crazy Ponzi scheme. I think 53rd. Hey, Joel PM. This is an M&A news. HP making moves to acquire, Jupiter Networks. Wow, for $13 billion. Well, there you go, right? Looks like the M&A market is going to open up. Now, Joel PM. There was a really good interview Thursday. The head of Goldman Sachs, the head of investment banking for Goldman Sachs, was doing an interview on Bloomberg TV. And I think one of our viewers, Raj Rupani, made us swear that interview. Check it out. He kind of gives a forecast on what he thinks about not only the M&A market, but the IPO market too. I think things are going to start to open back up. This building is 432 Park. Interesting view from this angle, right? Definitely stands out amongst the New York City skyline. We'll actually make a left. We've now made it to Sutton Place. This will run us right back to the office. This is the Christmas tree graveyard here. Every year it happens. Piles and piles of Christmas trees on the streets in New York City. Someone says my aunt lived near Sutton Place in the 80s. Yeah, Sutton Place is a great neighborhood, very quiet. I think it's actually mispriced right now. It's fallen out of fashion. So there are some good deals here at Sutton Place. This is Second. Two weeks ago, this whole place was closed down for the asbestos. Look at this mountain of garbage here. It's like a Mount Kilimanjaro of trash. Whew, smells bad too. All right, 2 more blocks and then we are home. You notice the traffic starting to pick up a lot more now that we're headed further into Midtown Manhattan. And you could just see a little bit of the Lipstick building right here. That's where Bernie Madoff ran that very famous Ponzi scheme right here on 3rd Avenue. Here's a better angle of it. Right there. And that very interesting looking building there. Okay, Lexington Avenue, and then one more is Park, and we are good to go. But that was kind of cool to go all the way over to the east side. I don't even remember the last time we were all the way over by the UN, Tudor City. There's a good shot of the Chrysler again. I know, isn't there a lot of garbage cans, garbage bags all on in the block? That's one thing we got to figure out as a city. It's 432. This is 425 Park. All right, well, everybody, I think this is a good place to end it. I appreciate everybody coming out. Thank you so much for joining us on Walks on Wall Street tonight. We will be back live tomorrow at 8:30. So feel free to subscribe to the channel. If you are new here, leave a like on the video, share the show with your friends, and if you want to sign up to receive all of our equity research for free every other Thursday after the market closes, we publish our free investing newsletter Behind the Street. Go ahead and scan the QR code on your screen or type !news, NEWS in the chat, and the Nightbot will drop the link to our Substack. But for now, signing off. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Line sync, appreciate it. Left-handed, Richard Vogel, Dusty Cole, Hawaii, all of our good moderators. Sabrina Fair, appreciate it. Bradley Filler, thanks for joining. Hang with Mark Mom. Thank you so much. Always a bull market somewhere. You just need to know where to look. Have a good Tuesday. Take care, everybody.